In the middle of Kansas, right on I-70, there's a secret. A secret from the 1950s when we had nuclear weapons attached to ICBMs. Eventually, the government declassified and decommissioned several Atlas missile silos across the country. The owner of this missile silo decided to make it a stop for people traveling, allowing campsites, a VRBO, and a spectacular tour of the missile silo. If you ever find yourself on I-70 traveling out west, mark this spot down. This is the spot to stay. An overlander, camping, or to rent out the VRBO. It's definitely worth stopping and taking this tour. Good morning. It is Sunday morning, and so far I think I've traveled 18 hours and a little bit over 1,300 miles from Columbia, South Carolina on our way to Moab, Utah. Probably got another 10 hours today. My goal is to reach it to the start of Onion Creek, and right now we're in the middle of Kansas at a decommissioned missile silo. We're about to take the tour here in the next half hour, so I'm gonna try and get packed out and get some drone footage real quick. Got these random concrete, I assume, breathers everywhere. Got a concrete pad here with more. An old International Scout. That he said his buddy wrecked his Camaro, so he took the motor out of it, and so this has a 350 V8 in it now. Front and rear. So front and rear leaf springs. Five-speed, four-wheel drive. Nice. So this is the actual top of the missile silo, where the ICBM would come out if launched. So under this metal plate right here, it goes down almost 200 feet. And you see why they got the trees kind of covering it. Some kind of vent grate over here, over there, and over there.
My background is in international business, hotel and restaurant management. But I've been working with the acquisition and sales of decommissioned missile bases, communication bunkers, and other DoD underground facilities since 2010. So in 2013, I came across this property. I was just going to take some photographs, video, try and market it online. Then I fell in love with the site. You know, fantastic views, the wind farm. It's close to Lake Wilson, one of the largest, cleanest lakes in the state. The city of Wilson is known for its rich Czech heritage. All the Czechoslovakians who immigrated here in the 1800s, and so you can get your photo by the world's largest hand-painted Czech egg in town. So it's already a little touristy, and with it being so close to I-70, I thought this is a hidden gem. So now, what we're standing on is the Atlas F missile silo. The Atlas was our first ICBM, intercontinental ballistic missile. This was all a response to Sputnik going up in the 50s. We recognized if the Soviet Union had the rocket technology to send a spy satellite into space, they could send over nukes. So very rapidly we started developing our own missile defense systems. The Atlas, it could travel over 5,000 miles, pretty much hit any target in the northern hemisphere. And this carried a thermonuclear warhead that was over 300 times more powerful than what we dropped on Japan in World War II. So this was a weapon of mass destruction. But really this was built to be a deterrent to nuclear war. The concept was, if you launch on us, we launch on you, nobody wins, right? Mad, mutually assured destruction. It's a path we knew we didn't want to go down. In fact, one of the Air Force generals said, if we ever had to launch these, they didn't do their job. Now this was operational from 61 until 65. Just 4 years, and then it was already obsolete. Our next generation of rocket called the Titan, and Titan II were put into play. But that was the height of the Cold War. You had the Cuban Missile Crisis going on, the JFK assassination happened. I mean, these officers were on high alert. They thought at any moment we may have to go to war. But Fortunately, this was never used as a weapon of mass destruction. When they decommissioned this bunker, there was a technology transfer between the Air Force and NASA for a great space race with the Russians. So we repurposed the rocket. We took off the warhead, put it on a space capsule, and sent some of our first astronauts into orbit on top of an ICBM. Crazy, huh?
Wow.
American way.
We also sent up our own spy satellites and global communication networks, and I did some research. I found the tail number to the rocket stored right here. It was taken down to Florida and used to send up a weather satellite from NOAA, National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. So in a lot of ways, I feel like this rocket technology actually helped bring us together as a human race more than tear us apart. You had to look for that silver lining, but I mean, it kept us out of war. And now with space age technologies, I can pick up a cell phone and call my college roommate who lives in Australia. So.
Oh yeah, we use Starlink all the time now.
Well, when they decommissioned this bunker, first dibs on this property went to the city of Wilson. They could have purchased this for $1. It cost $12.8 million to build this, and that's back in 1959, $60. If you take into account inflation and construction cost increase, you couldn't have touched this project today for less than $150. So, I've got a great head start on any projects I want to do, right? Now, although they didn't need the bunker, they did remove the diesel generators used to power this facility if the grid were to go down. They used that for the power plant in the city. That concrete pad just over there was a part of that power system. You had a chilling unit that could cool off the generators and keep everything operational. What I would like to do is use that as a foundation to build out a gift shop and check-in area when guests arrive. Maybe a gourmet coffee shop in the morning for my campers, wine and whiskey bar in the evening to make it fun.
That'd be good.
That'd be awesome.
Right now it's just primitive camping. I am leveling out a big circle drive over there. That'll become the new RV park. I plan on trenching in electric, water, plumbing, having full hookups for everyone. The idea is to make it look like a sunflower from Google Maps. The sunflower is the international symbol for nuclear disarmament.
Oh, cool.
We've used sunflowers to bring radiation out of Chernobyl. And it's also the state flower of Kansas, so I feel like there's some cool tie-ins right there.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
Those concrete pads just over there originally were Quonset buildings, a steel curved structure, 40 foot wide by 100 foot long. They were used by the construction crews while they were building out the place. So you had welding stations, you could store equipment inside. The Army Corps of Engineers had their office, nurse's station if somebody got injured, kitchen and bathroom in the back. What I would like to do is tie into that original septic system and build out an event center, a new Quonset building, make it look original, where I could host weddings, concerts, corporate retreats. People are always looking for a unique venue to have a party at, right?
For sure.
Speaking of parties, I hear that from the locals that this used to be the party spot. All the high school kids who come out here have keggers and bonfires, and you could see the cops for miles. And so, yeah, I met a good old boy at a local bar. He's all like, "You own the old missile base, right?" I go, "Yeah." He goes, "My firstborn son was conceived there." I'm all like, "Oh, okay." So who knows how many missile-based babies there are in this area. Oh, man. Yeah, we're going to take a little walk around. I'll show you some other points of interest, and then we'll go underground. This grating right here, this is a chamber that goes halfway around the silo. This would allow for fresh air exchange down into the bunker. Now, they had a concrete plant on the property. When they started pouring this bunker, they didn't stop until they finished. One continuous pour that goes 176 feet beneath us. This is basically a steel structure. Like the rebar is over 2 inches thick, and it's encapsulated with concrete. The concrete here at the surface is 9 feet thick.
9 feet?
Yeah. Now, this was engineered to withstand a nearby nuclear blast. So those blast doors are 3 foot thick, 75 tons each. So you had large hydraulic rams that would open up the doors, an elevator would lift it to the surface, and then the rocket would launch off.
Oh, man.
The flames would shoot to the side with the deflector shield, not go back down underground. Now,
So the missile comes out before it launches.
that's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, the next generation of rocket, the Titan series, they just had a door that slid to the side and the rocket could be launched from inside of the silo. So it was
Okay.
a faster, safer operating system. That's why this only lasted for about 4 years. It was already obsolete. You may have noticed the stone post going down the driveway. Early immigrants who came to this region found that there weren't a lot of trees to use for fence posts, so they quarried out native limestone and used that instead. I've been going around to local farmers who have redone their fence lines and getting them to donate their stones. Slowly but surely, I've been lining that driveway. No easy task. Each stone is about 400 pounds.
Oh my God.
Looks like my neighbor dog is coming over to say hi. Now, I'm digging out a water feature over here, a koi fish pond. People keep asking me though, what's with your moat? And I think, a moat should protect a castle or a fort. Maybe I need to build a tree fort in those trees.
Yes. More kid friendly.
Now, I moved out here full time in 2020 after my divorce. Friend said, I can't believe you're sleeping in a hammock. We have this RV we haven't used in years. And him and his wife donated this to me. I've really been blessed, but I found out that's an oven in the summer and an ice box in the winter. So I built my own little home down there, that monolithic dome. Over here, there were 2 wells and a water treatment plant. I built out that concrete building as a rainfall shower house with skylights up above and big picture windows for the view. I just ordered the glass windows. I can't wait to get that installed. The middle building is original. I'm using that as an outhouse for the campground, and I would like to build a spa on that foundation right over there. Originally, you had 3 antennas for communications with Strategic Air Command. Your main tower was out in the field. Right here was an RF cone, radio frequency. And just over here is a bunker that goes 30 feet underground. Inside was stored a telescopic antenna. So if your main tower were to go down, that was your backup plan. A blast door would open up, antenna pop out the ground 100 feet in the air, and you could resume communications. Now, one of the great things about living here in the countryside, I don't know if you noticed last night, there's hardly any light pollution. You get to see a ton of stars.
Yeah.
I'd love to build an observatory there and have telescopes where guests look up at the night sky.
That'd be awesome.
And I figured that bunker would make for a great wine cellar. We could call it the Star Bar. So. Originally, there were 12 missile silos built in a large ring around Schilling Air Force Base in Salina. So in this squadron, this was site number 8. It was the furthest one away. They had them spread out, so if a nuke hit one, it wouldn't impact any of the others. Now, this is one of the only properties they put in a small grass airstrip to fly in and check on things. That part of the land is now covered in trees. I don't intend on a planes landing. What I would like to do, though, is build out an obstacle course, similar to what the military uses for training confidence in their soldiers. I get a lot of Boy Scout and Girl Scout troops through, and a few years ago, I competed on a TV show called American Ninja Warrior, when I was a missile silo ninja. So I love obstacles and challenges. I think it's fun.
Oh wow.
These candy canes are your air intake and exhaust shafts. That would allow for fresh air exchange down into the bunker. Now, you had sensors outside that could detect an explosion, and inside blast valves would shut, making sure that that explosive force couldn't go underground and kill everyone. Then you had filters that could filter out chemical, biological, and nuclear contaminants, and you would create a positive pressure environment in the bunker. That way no contaminated air could seep its way in. It's always going to be pushing air out, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Just over here is the escape hatch. If the main entryway were blocked, this was your backup plan for getting out. Originally, this shaft would have been filled with 4 tons of sand. In the event of an explosion, it would just blow over the top. Now, inside, there's a handle you pull, doors open up, all the sand drops down like through an hourglass. Then you can climb up that ladder to get to the surface.
Oh, that's ingenious.
Yeah.
Now, it was thought that the extreme heat of a nuclear explosion would have melted the sand at the surface and turned it into glass.
Oh, yeah.
So the missileers had a special hammer to break their way out. Yeah, they thought of everything, eh?
That's
You guys ready to go underground?
Yeah, let's do it.
Take the stairs, not the ladder.
You want to go first?
This is surprisingly big.
So right here, there's a button you press. This will put you into the next room. Electronic locks. Unlock the door. You shut the door behind you. Pick up a phone, look into a camera, and say your access code. If you say the right code, the next door buzzes open and you can go through. If you say the wrong code, you're trapped in this room until military police take you away. So this is known as the entrapment room for that purpose, but you guys are authorized to come in. Next, we come to these 2 large blast doors. This is a 2,000-pound door, 1 ton. Now, this is made of manganese. It's a higher melting point than regular steel. You may have noticed as we've come down the stairs, we've already gone around a corner, another corner, another corner. Engineering is such that explosive force we're coming down here. That was a close one. Each time it has to stop and turn, it's going to lose up to 10% of its energy. So by the time it got to the curvature of this door, that would dissipate that energy into these thick concrete walls and blow off this wall just above. Now, this door had to lock, shut, and lock before this door could be opened. That way the missile layers would never be exposed to any danger from outside. Come on down to the top floor known as the ready room.
Double blast chamber.
Yeah, that is so cool.
I thought I was going to be looking 300 feet down for a second.
Still,
Oh, wow.
One of the first things you notice as you walk into this room is this concrete column here in the center. This is just a support column that holds the bunker in place. You see this handle here? That goes to the escape hatch you were looking down earlier.
Oh, okay.
Now here you can see the floor plan. We've come down the stairs past the glass doors. We're now on the top floor. It's known as the ready room. It's where the missileers used to live. So there was a kitchen, bathroom, air handling room, medical supply closet, bunk beds, all on this top level. Next we're going to go to the lower level where they worked, and then we're going to walk through the tunnel and look down into the silo. Now here you can see the silo was 52 feet in diameter, 176 feet to the bottom. The missile itself was just 10 feet in diameter and 71 feet tall. You can see when it was raised to the surface how the flames would shoot to the side and not go back down underground. Now this set of floors right here, it was known as the crib. It held the missile in place, and it was attached to large springs on the wall. So if an explosion happened up above, the entire floor system could move on those shock absorbers and keep the rocket safe. Similar in this area, the floors were attached to the ceiling with air shocks at 4 different points around the room. That's why this is separate from the walls, so it's a floating floor system. Even the lights are on springs. You didn't want any of your equipment getting damaged. Now, I didn't have the funds to buy this place myself. I got an investor involved. He was the same age as me. His name was Matthew also. Flew in from Chicago, saw my vision, and gave me the startup capital. But tragically, he died a year after we bought the place together. So for several years, I just sat on this from 2013 to about 17, and then finally I came to this realization. Nothing is going to happen out here unless you come out and start working. So on the weekends in my free time, I would drive over 2 hours from Topeka, throw a hammock up in the tree. My dog would protect me from coyotes. I would put on a protective suit, wear a respirator. I'm scraping up asbestos floor tile, lead paint off the rails, ripping out moldy walls, throw everything in the contractor bag, sling 80 pounds over my shoulder, and hike upstairs to a dumpster. Do it again and again and again until this place was empty. Stairmaster 10 million for me, right? I wanted to use the original studs, keep that floor plan, but they all reeked of mold, so I just had to take it all out. So once I got this place empty, I used a pressure washer and sanitized the entire bunker. I rented a sandblaster. I'd never used one of those before. That was a learning curve. Every inch of metal you see from the railing, stairs, floors, doors, I-beams I had to clean before I could repaint. And yeah, so you wear a protective suit with an air nozzle going to the surface so you can breathe, and so you have limited vision. First day, I trip on the hose and slice right through my own wrist.
Oh no!
Sand under your skin is no fun, I'll tell you that. But now, but I've really been blessed in this journey. The hazmat company I hired to remove all the contaminated sand didn't charge me a penny. Benjamin Moore sponsored me with 100 gallons of paint to give this place a fresh new look. I decided to go with this gunmetal gray thing. And Airbnb sponsored me with their OMG fund. Like, oh my God, what is this? So out of thousands of hosts who submitted cool, quirky ideas, I was one of 100 that were selected, and they gave me $100,000 to help develop this out.
Oh,
that's awesome.
So I've been open for just over a year with Airbnb. I book exclusively through them now. And yeah, I've had over 100 guests stay here so far, gained 5-star ratings from just about everyone. And this last year, Kansas Department of Tourism gave me a grant to help finish this out, so I'm developing this into an educational center for space habitat studies. I'm partnering with different companies from around the globe to feature the products and technologies we would need to set up a lunar base on the moon or a colonization project on another planet. So to start out with, going underground on the moon makes a lot of sense because you have no atmosphere to protect from solar radiation or extreme heat and cold. It doesn't matter if it's 110 in the summer here in Kansas or negative 10 in the winter, it's going to be in the 50s, 60s like a cave. But we got to think, what sort of life support systems do we need for a habitat on the moon, right? Well, you're going to need fresh food, clean air, pure water, consistent energy to keep everything running, health, medical, communications, all engineered or designed into your habitat. That way, if supply missions from Earth were to pause or even stop, people could live up there indefinitely. Now, if we can solve those challenges for living on an uninhabitable rock like the moon, we can solve those same challenges for living on this beautiful planet right here, right? Despite what challenges may come. You hear a lot in the media about global climate change or war, natural disasters, or even asteroids hitting the planet. We really can't stop any of these things from happening, despite what taxes we create. But what we can do is design disaster resilience into our own lives. So if another crisis were to happen, like the pandemic, people were rushing to the store to get toilet paper. A lot of people realized they didn't have more than 3 days worth of food to feed their entire family. If trucking in America stops, America stops. Food doesn't get to your grocery stores or your restaurants anymore. So how can we design this into our own homes? So in a crisis, you can take care of your family first and help your friends and neighbors out of your abundance. So let's start with food. You see this beautiful kitchen my father built? I grew up doing custom woodworking with him. I told him I wanted this industrial steampunk look and feel. He built the cabinets, I put on all the metal countertops. But you see the window in the back? That's going to be for a food system called aquaponics. Aquaponics is where you take nutrient-rich water from fish and you float it into hydroponic grow beds. So your roots suck up the nutrients, it filters the water, and the water goes back into the fish. It's a closed-loop system that conserves your water consumption. Now, NASA discovered to grow plants out in space, you need the red and blue spectrum of light. Now, using LEDs in 230 square feet of space, I can grow the same amount of food as a 2-acre farm above ground. You don't have to worry about climate change, winter, summer, rain or shine. I can harvest every week on schedule. No need for chemicals or pesticides on your food either. This is all organic. Kansas, even though it's known as an agricultural state, it really is somewhat of a food desert. And mainly what we grow are your grains like corn, wheat, and soy. So if I want to buy a head of lettuce, it's probably grown in California, maybe Mexico. It has to travel thousands of miles, sitting in cold storage. By the time I buy it from the grocery store and put it on my dinner plate, it's already wilted and lost the majority of its water-soluble nutrient value within the first 48 hours after harvest. So if you can source your food locally or grow your own, that's the healthiest way to live. There's nothing like a fresh tomato off the vine for your BLT, right? Mm-hmm. Now, when it comes to water, even though we live on a water planet, 71% of the surface of our planet is water, only 1% of that is drinkable globally. And here in America, we just flush it down the drains. We're rapidly depleting our aquifers and our reservoirs. So to solve this challenge, I've partnered with a company from the Netherlands called Hydroloop Systems. Their system can recycle between 60 and 85% of your water usage in the home. This is a game changer. It really should be put into all new construction. What I did was I plumbed in my shower and sinks to flow to the system. It gets filtered, goes through UV light, and recycled back to the toilet, washing machine, or even to the food system. Also, living underground, I'm constantly having to run my dehumidifiers. So I pull that dehumidifier, I'm pulling water out the air instead of the earth. That's a great way of conserving your water consumption as well. I just pour that into the system. I really believe in sustainable practices. Even the floor that we're walking on right here, instead of using a hardwood like oak, where an oak tree needs to grow about 60 years before it's mature enough to harvest, this is actually made from hemp. You can grow the same amount of product in 6 months with hemp versus a 60-year-old tree. So this is the future of sustainable construction. Company is called Hempwood. They're based out of Kentucky. They use a soy-based glue to bind everything together, so there are no VOCs or chemicals off-gassing in this enclosed environment. Next, we're going to go down to the lower level. I'm developing that into the main Airbnb with 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, a spa and lounge area. But the ultimate goal is to develop out the entire silo. So I know I may come off as a dreamer, but as you can see, I'm also a doer. But I've started a nonprofit here in Kansas called the Ad Astra STEAM Institute. Ad Astra per aspera in Latin means to the stars through difficulties. It's the state motto of Kansas. STEAM stands for science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. The goal is to turn this into a high-tech educational center where we can train up our next generation of astronauts, but if nothing else, I feel like this could be a fun, interactive way for guests to learn about sustainable technologies. Now, I have a friend who has already converted his missile silo here in Kansas into a 15-floor luxury condominium complex. It's known as survivalcondo.com. You can look it up. He turned 7 levels into residential units. Each floor is about 2,000 square feet of space. Then the rest are amenities. There's a movie theater, bar, rock climbing wall, indoor swimming pool, indoor firing range, gaming rooms, a gym, even a dog park. But he takes things very seriously. He has military-grade security, surgical suite, dental chair, his own pharmacy. He's growing fresh food for up to 75 people and has 5 different sources of energy production and storage. So, back in 2012, I was taking a client on a tour to see if they wanted to buy a full floor unit. Each floor was selling for about $3 million, and then you have your HOA fees. But I remember we were 12 levels underground in the education and library level. They have K through 12 curriculum for all the kids who may be in a lockdown scenario. And some of the kids were getting older. They were looking at college curriculum as well. Well, my ex-wife looked around and said, I don't see any bookshelves in your library. Well, the guy who was supposed to build them couldn't get to it for another year. And she goes, I know someone who does amazing woodworking. Looked at me and said, well, give me a bid. So my father and I, we built a custom library, 40 feet long, floor to ceiling, curved around the outside the room for that project. So you can see photos of that on my website, atlas@astra.com, or my friend's website, survivalcondo.com. You can also see us both on TV on the Science Channel, a series called Underground Marvels. So season 2, episode 6, it features me when this place is raw and nasty looking. His place is all luxury and built out. So he's been a real inspiration for me. I've seen several people develop out this launch control center like I'm doing. He's the only person I know who's developed out the silo. He sold all the units in his first facility. He's building a second one right now. So if you're interested in a condo, just let me know. I can line you up. But he told me, Matthew, if you could start writing me checks, I could build out your missile base in 18 to 24 months, less than 2 years. He already has the contractors who know what they're doing. It's just a $25 to $30 million project. You know, I am looking for investors. But instead of one major investment group that comes in and, you know, they build $30 million hotels across the world, but oftentimes venture capitalists want to have full control. I'm looking more along the lines of crowdfunding. How can I get people from around the world excited about this project? So, are you guys familiar with cryptocurrency at all?
Yeah.
Okay. So in the next 10 years or less, they're going to be eliminating cash globally. This is already in moving. So what they're doing now, major asset managers like BlackRock and such are starting to tokenize their assets. An example of tokenization is the St. Regis Hotel in Aspen, Colorado. They've created their own token called the Aspen Coin. It's like buying stock in the resort. You can say, I own part of this prestigious resort in Aspen. Well, they raised $18 million the first year that they launched their coin. And that got me thinking, could I do something similar? Could I create an Ad Astra coin tied to the asset? So when people buy in, you know, people from around the world could buy in. And I want to make it so it's not just for like accredited investors at $10,000 to buy in, right? I would like it to where even a Boy Scout kid comes here, sees this place, could invest $10 and say, I own part of a missile base, right? Now, as I get the funds to develop out the asset increases in value, which means the coin increases in value along with it. So that's how that investment strategy works. Until we get it figured out though, I do have a GoFundMe on my website. For every $1 donated, you get 2 entries to win a 2-night all-inclusive stay in the Airbnb. I'm going to show you that. Now, I did custom woodworking with my father for over 15 years, and we had a friend who tuned pianos. Every time he found an untunable piano, he would get it, we'd go pick it up, and my father would gut them out and turn them into beautiful cabinetry like this. Like the crown molding you see was actually the cover that went over the piano keys.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Another example right here, your cover that went over the keys is now a drawer Your tray for sheet music is a handle. You know, this is mahogany wood someone was just going to throw away.
So much waste.
You'll notice I do some psychological tricks for the mind with curtains and false windows. So it gives you that illusion that you're not in a bunker.
My wife does that too at our house.
King bed, bunk beds if you have family. I charge $350 a night for guests to stay here. Now, so you said your wife does this big windows
Yes.
too?
Yes.
I was looking at doing digital windows where you could look out at the mountains or the beach or even the Mars colony if you wanted, but those are pretty pricey. So I just frosted some glass and threw some LED lights behind it. I always like to point out the companies that sponsor me along the way. Strictly Kitchens and Baths sponsor me with this beautiful butterfly sink in the corner. So
That's nice.
now, as I finish up the lower level as the main Airbnb, the room where the bunk beds are is going to be turned into the food center. So I'll be installing an aquarium here and have vertical grow beds in the back. The room where the king bed is, that bed will go downstairs. I'm going to turn that into a health center. So I'm looking into biohacking the body. What are all the sort of medical technologies that we would need for staying healthy and living longer lives? NASA discovered that the red spectrum of light helps with plant growth, but it also helps with cellular regeneration, so I'm looking into light therapy. I've been sponsored by a company called Amp Coil that creates a pulse electromagnetic frequency device. It helps harmonize your body. I'm researching out doing the hyperbaric oxygen chamber. So this increases the atmospheric pressure around your body, enabling oxygen to get to all of your cells. Helps with rapid recovery. The military has used this for years with open wound and burn victims. Now professional athletes may sit in one after a game. Also doing the cold plunge into the sauna and back. Scandinavians have been doing this for centuries, but research is now showing that it helps with neuroplasticity, with brain body function, also with neurogenesis as far as stem cell regeneration in your body naturally. So the idea is when guests walk away from here, they're going to feel revived, rejuvenated, ready for the next day. I'm also researching out telemedicine. So when I was living in Hawaii, overseeing an aquaponics operation there, and I cut my foot out at the beach and it got infected. And so I ended up calling up the doctor, took a photo of the foot injury. He ended up prescribing antibiotics, and everything was taken care of without even going into the doctor's office. So, but here right now, with high-speed internet and communications, now a surgeon over in New York could do surgery in LA with robotics. And so we solve these latency issues with Starlink and stuff like that, and have that high-speed internet globally. That surgeon may be able to do surgery over in South Africa, from his office in New York. So it's really incredible the time that we live in and how we're advancing so rapidly, right? But you're following me this way. We're going to go downstairs now. I do want to, unfortunately I'm all sold out of shirts and hats at the moment. You can't purchase these online. But you see my logo, it looks similar to the nuclear symbol. Mm-hmm. It's actually 3 A's for Atlas Ad Astra. I was trying to be, the name of my business, I was trying to be clever. In fact, I even did.
We put the drone up this morning.
You can see from space, yeah.
We put the drone up. I'm like, why is there? Like, he mowed that.
Yeah. I was super excited that Google Maps updated right after I know that. Yeah.
Yeah, that could have took a while.
Here's the original launch control desk. Unfortunately, they gutted this when they left. Unfortunately, they left it and it wasn't hauled off for scrap. I've had several missile base owners reach out asking if I'd sell it to them. I said, no way. What I plan on doing is cleaning this all up, replacing this panel with a touchscreen monitor, and digitally recreating what it would have looked like so you could go through a simulation of launching the missile. Now, it took 2 to launch. One was sitting at the desk and the other one upstairs. Each had their own combination lock to a lockbox where the launch codes were kept. That way one guy couldn't go rogue.
GoldenEye.
Yeah.
Now, you had 5 officers on duty They were on duty for 24 hours on, 48 hours off, and shuttled back and forth to the Air Force Base 50 miles from here. And then you had 2 security personnel maintaining patrols. Now as I finish this lower level, this is going to be a nice lounge area. This actually flips over into air hockey or ping pong. And I'm developing out 2 bedrooms, each with their own bathroom and a spa. You guys are welcome to take a peek. And then we're going to go through the tunnel and I'll show you the actual silo.
Bathroom, bedroom. Got a bathroom back there that's working on. Washer, dryer.
Hydro loop.
That's what he's talking about. Same side. This is cool.
Yeah, originally I had purchased enough of this flooring to do the entire lower level, but I decided to tile my bathrooms and spa area. And so I had all this extra flooring. So I started out with the wainscot doing a herringbone and chevron, and then that was taking way too long, so I moved just to vertical over here. But yeah, kind of a one-man wrecking crew. From time to time I get help from friends or family or locals or guests, but basically it's just me here trying to make progress every day.
It's a ton of work.
Okay, watch your head down here. This is a low entryway.
Trying to get like, that's really cool.
On a hot summer day, you may find me down here painting bolt temper, bolt. I've got another 200 bolts to go. It's the small details that make this place pop. This tray is for running wiring through the tunnel. The tube is for bringing fresh air into this tunnel. And the grates right here, there tends to be a lot of condensation when warm air from outside comes in contact with this cool concrete. Water would just drip down and drain away. The batteries, my goal is to go off grid. So I've been donated some solar panels. I just need to buy the wiring and inverters. I pulled these batteries from a hospital up in Nebraska when I was working on a bunker up there. Hospitals are required to have an uninterrupted power supply. So if the grid goes down, you don't lose all your patients. Every 5 years they replace their batteries. I picked these up dirt cheap. There's a little life hack for you if you're looking for batteries.
Nice. Are they, I'm sorry, are they lead acid batteries or
yeah.
are they, okay.
Yeah, they're lead acid. So they were just switching over to the lithium. Now you can see when I rented the sandblaster, unfortunately the hose wasn't long enough to reach from the surface through the escape hatch all the way to here. So I was unable to clean this. But a lot of people say they love the rust and old patina. I should just put a clear coat on so you get to see how nasty it looked like when I first bought it. Now, you have these 2 glass doors meant to protect from our own rocket exploding. And then there was an explosion down in Roswell, New Mexico, and they started putting in a 3rd door at all of these sites as an afterthought. Can you see this seafoam green color painted there? The psychological studies show that that color spectrum has a soothing or calming effect on people. It's meant to reduce stress. As you can imagine, this could be a stressful job for just about anyone. That's why you see this color scheme in a lot of military facilities, mental hospitals, prisons, even schools built in that time period. All right, here's the actual silo. Start by taking a look up. You'll see the blast doors where we start the tour. You'll see some ductwork for the air handling system. Remember, there were 9 floors connected to these springs originally, so that gave you access to the missile. And if you look under the spring, you'll see a chamber attached to the side of the wall. It's known as the celestial chamber. There's a tube that goes up to the surface, and you can align by the North Star to get the navigational system all correct for the rocket. I've been rappelling down there a couple times now, once with the camera crew from the History Channel, another time with a friend from Alaska who's into adventure like me. It's about 80 feet down to the water, and I estimate there's between 60 and 70 feet of water down there. 1.3 million gallons. Eventually, because concrete is porous, water's been seeping in through the walls over the last 60 years and leveled out at where the water table is. So this is basically like a large cistern or a well. What I would like to do is use this water to irrigate my land. Create gardens, vineyards, orchards, have thousands of fruit and nut-bearing trees. But speaking of water, I'm going to dump my dehumidifier water down there. You can watch it fall 80 feet.
Okay.
This is nuts.
Now let me squeeze right by you. You ready? Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Takes a little while, doesn't it? Well, this pretty much concludes the tour. Do you guys have any questions for me while we're down here?
So what are these springs here for?
So, originally, the crib, you had 9 floors that held the missile in place. They were attached to these springs. So if an explosion happened up above, the entire floor system could move on these shock absorbers, and the rocket would stay safe inside.
So there was like cribbing, like metal?
Yeah, so there was metal floors that held that gave you access to do maintenance on the rocket and everything.
I see. And
So-
each one of those were attached to these bars that are suspended on springs.
Right.
Okay. That one's gone.
Yeah.
Did it rust out?
Well, when they decommissioned this base, the salvage team took all the infrastructure out, and evidently they were taking out the springs. And I don't know if there was an accident. That spring could be at the bottom.
Yeah.
I don't know why they didn't remove all of them. A lot of the sites that I've gone to, everything's removed.
Okay.
Maybe they just thought, this is too much work.
Yeah.
Forget it. When they, after they removed all of this infrastructure, you can see that they had removed the hydraulic rams also. So when they let these doors slam shut, it created such a percussion it blew out the windows in the house half a mile away.
Oh my gosh.
And they had to pay for that.
So your plan would be to put floors in here, basically, I guess, build a condo from the bottom up and then brace against the walls, I guess, or something?
Correct. If I had the funds today, I would hire a crane, remove those doors, remove all this metal infrastructure. I would drain out the water, use it for irrigation. I would hire an engineering firm that works with dams and seal this all up so it's not penetrating through anymore. I would punch out the bottom, take it down to 200 feet and pour a whole new foundation and build the structure within the structure. So it's all self-contained. If an earthquake were to happen or something like that, everything would be safe inside.
So you've been all the way down there? Well, at least to the water?
Yeah, I've been down to the water. I haven't gone scuba diving yet. Well, I have a friend who turned his missile silo with over 100 feet of water into a scuba diving center. You can actually get certified in deep water diving in the middle of Texas.
Oh, God. That's
It's called Dive Valhalla, if you want to check it out.
Are those white, like, tiles or something? Is that the bottom?
Just some debris that's fallen in, floating on the top.
Okay.
Yeah, eventually I need to drop a kayak down there and clean that all up. It annoys me every time I see it.
I'm just trying to understand, like, the bottom, where the bottom is versus the water.
Yeah, the bottom is another 60 to 70 feet down. So it's about 80 feet down to where the water is, and then it's going to go another 70 feet past that.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, what we're seeing is probably the reflection of the springs right there off that lake.
That debris must be floating.
Yeah.
That's not the bottom, and we're seeing through the water.
Right.
Oh my
Well,
God.
yeah, well,
so
that's the reflection.
it's basically twice as big as this, is what we see.
Right.
That's the water table level. Wow.
Oops, sorry, pup.
Hey, Dozer, you're blocking the way. Now be sure to get your feet up on the platform and get it caught. There we go, all the way shut.
Should I slam
Nice. Yeah, that works. Dang.
That was really cool. I definitely want to come back with the kids. And it cooled off. It's like 68 degrees. So we have about 700 miles to start at Onion Creek, about 10 hours. So probably get there right at sunset. Pulling out of the missile silo complex here. A little bit of dirt road.
In a quarter of a mile, turn left on Avenue C. Turn left on Avenue C.
Please like, comment, and subscribe. If you like this type of video, please think about joining my Patreon page for about $4 a month. I'll give you GPS coordinates, patron-only trips with yours truly, and a direct way to message me and talk anything Jeep and overlanding. Thanks again for watching. See you on the next one.